everyone. Welcome to Spooky October, Briar Haus Writes. It is my honor to be able to have back with us again Miss Natalie Kimbell. Natalie, of course, as you know, has just finished up a new book, and it's called And the Weather Remains the Same. But tonight, she's going to be sharing with us some spooky tales. Natalie, welcome to our program.
Thank you, Becky.
Natalie, tell us about what Halloween has meant for you.
Well, it's the opportunity to dress up and be somebody else. And it's the opportunity to get all the candy a person could eat. And it was an opportunity to go with my family and friends to go door to door. And before, we were worried about I guess the worry started about razor blades and things like that and in your apples. So but we were pretty much we had no fear. I mean, going door to door and asking for candy, trick or treat. And we sometimes said, trick or treat, smell my feet, give me something good to eat, give me candy, give me gum, hurry up and give me some.
Oh,
So
wow.
we had our little rhymes, and but it was a fun time, and it was an innocent time, and it was but it was always, the older I became, the more intrigued I was with scary stories, and so I would always have my friends over, and we would tell everything from the vanishing hitchhiker and the I'm trying to think of all these scary stories, but they were just they were very, you knew they weren't real, but you just hung on them. So that's what I remember most about Halloween.
See the spooky pumpkin behind you.
Yes, there's my vulture Igor. I don't think you can make out his bones there, but he's there. So um but
Well,
it's just
Natalie,
fun.
would you read some of your work for us or tell us
Well,
a
I
spooky
will,
story?
but I feel like since it's Halloween, we have to begin with the master of all scary stories. And so I would like to read to you The Telltale Heart by Edgar Allan Poe. And then I will read a poem that has been heavily influenced by Poe. And I think when you hear it, you'll pick up on some things from Edgar Allan Poe's work. And then I want to get kind of serious, and I want to tell you something that really happened to me that still gives me chills. It didn't happen on Halloween, but it was a very true story that I can't explain. So it's in uh, a book by Howling Hills Press called 23 Tales, Appalachian, what am I saying? Appalachian ghost stories. Um, so that's my plan. So if you're ready, I'm ready. The Telltale Heart by Edgar Allan Poe. It's true. I have been ill, very ill. But why do you say that I have lost control of my mind? Why do you say that I am mad? Can you not see I have full control of my mind? Is it not clear that I am not mad? Indeed, the illness only made my mind and feelings, my senses stronger, more powerful. My sense of hearing especially became more powerful. I could hear sounds I'd never heard before. I heard sounds from heaven. I heard sounds from hell. Listen, listen, and I will tell you how it happened. You will see, you will hear how healthy my mind is. It is impossible to say how the idea first entered my head. There was no reason for what I did. I did not hate the old man. I even loved him. He had never hurt me. I did not want his money. I think it was his eye. Yes, it was his eye. His eye was like the eye of a vulture, the eye of one of those terrible birds that watch and wait while an animal dies and then falls upon the body and pulls it to pieces to eat it. When the old man looked at me with his vulture eye, a cold feeling went up and down my back. Even my blood became cold. And so I finally decided I had to kill the old man and close that eye forever. So you think I am mad? A madman cannot plan. But you should have seen me. Oh, during all that week, I was as friendly as I could be. Nice and warm and loving. Every night about 12 o'clock, I slowly opened his door. And when the door was open wide enough, I put my hand in. And then when the door was, I had in my hand, I held a light covered with a cloth so that no light shone. Then carefully I lifted the cloth just a little so that a single thin small light fell upon the eye. For 7 nights I did this, 7 long nights, and every night at midnight, always the eye was closed. So it was impossible for me to do the work. For it was not the old man I felt I had to kill. It was the eye, the evil eye. And every morning I went to his room, and with a warm, friendly voice, I asked him how he slept. He could not guess that every night, just at 12, I looked in at him as he slept. The 8th night, I was more than usually careful as I opened the door. The hands of a clock moved more quickly than did my hand. Never before had I felt so strongly about my own power. I was now sure of success. The old man was lying there, not dreaming that I was at his door. Suddenly he moved in his bed. You may think I became afraid, but no. The darkness in the room was thick and black, and I knew he could not see. I continued to push the door slowly, softly. I put my head in. I put in my hand. And with the covered light, suddenly the old man sat straight up in the bed and cried, "Who's there?" I stood quite still. For a whole hour I did not move, nor did I hear him again lie down in his bed. He just sat there listening. And then I heard a sound, a low cry, filled with fear. I knew he knew I was there. He did not see me there. He could not hear me there. He felt me there. Now he knew that death was standing there. Slowly, little by little, I lifted the cloth until a small, small light escaped from under it and fell upon him, to fall upon the vulture eye. It was open, wide, wide open, and my anger increased as it looked straight at me. I could not see the old man's face, only that eye, that hard blue eye. And the blood in my body became. I not told you that my hearing had become actually strong? How I could hear a quick, low, soft sound like the sound of a clock heard through a wall? It was the beating of the old man's heart. I tried to stand quietly, but the sound grew louder, and the old man's fear must have been great indeed. As the sound grew louder, my anger became greater and more powerful. But it was more than anger. In the quiet night, in the dark silence of the bedroom, my anger became fear, for the heart was beating so loudly that I was sure someone must hear. The time had come. I rushed into the room crying, "Die, die!" The old man gave a loud cry of fear as I fell upon him and held the bed covers tightly over his head. Still his heart was beating, but I smiled as I felt the success was near. For many minutes, the heart continued to beat, but at last, the beating stopped. The old man was dead. I took away the bed covers and held my ear over his heart. There was no sound. Yes, he was dead. Dead as a stone. His eye would trouble me no more. So I am mad, you say? You should have seen how carefully I was to put the body where no one could find it. First, I cut off the head, and then the arms and the legs. I was careful not to let a single drop of blood fall on the floor. I pulled up 3 of the boards that formed the floor and put the pieces all of the body there. And then I put the boards down again. Oh, so carefully that no human eye could see that they had been moved. As I finished this work, I heard that somebody was at the door. It was now 4 o'clock in the morning, but still dark. I had no fear. As I went down to open the door, 3 men were at the door, 3 officers of the police. One of the neighbors had heard the old man's cry and had called the police. These 3 had come to ask questions and to search the house. I asked the policeman to come in. The cry, I said, was my own, in a dream. The old man, I said, was away. He'd gone to visit a friend in the country. I took them through the whole house, telling them to search it all, to search well. I led them finally into the old man's bedroom, as if playing a game with them. I asked them to sit down and talk for a while. My easy, quiet manner made the policemen believe my story, so they sat talking with me in a friendly way. But although I answered them in the same way, I soon wished that they would go. My head hurt, and there was a strange sound in my ears. I talked more and faster. The sound became clearer, and they sat and talked. Suddenly, I knew that the sound was not in my ears. It was not just inside my head. At that moment, I must have been quite white. I talked still faster and louder, and the sound too became louder, and it was a quick, low, soft sound, like the sound of a clock heard through a wall, sound I knew well. Louder it became, and louder. What did the men not go? Louder, louder. I stood up and walked around the room. I pushed my chair across the floor to make some noise, to cover the terrible sound. I talked even louder, and still the men sat and talked and smiled. Was it possible they could not hear? No, they heard. I was certain of it. They knew. That was they who were playing a game with me. I was suffering more than I could bear from their smiles, from the sound. Louder, louder, louder. Suddenly I could bear it no longer. I pointed at the boards and cried, "Yes, yes, I killed him. Pull up the boards and you shall see. I killed him." But why does his heart not stop beating? Why does it not stop? And that's Edgar Allan Poe, The Telltale Heart. So what Halloween would be perfect without Edgar Allan Poe? And he influences my writing. All good writers influence someone else's writing. But in my book, The Weather Remains the Same, there's a poem called Ghosts. And I wrote this poem about that strange feeling you sometimes get when you glance up at a doorway and you think you see something, or you remember something, and you think somebody's there, but they're not. That's this poem, Ghosts. Perhaps a refracted light ignites a play of shadows in the doorway, compels our synapses to feel an image in the brain when no one is there in the house. It's just an ocular disturbance, you tell yourself to say, but the reverberating chill groans through your body despite an educated mind of disbelief. Sometimes a wisp of cologne like musk flicks a projection before you makes a memory manufacture, a zone of fancy to thrill the eye, like the quick flare of a match in the dark. And even though careful not to fan the flame or fuel the apparition with your startled apprehension, you continue to stare at nothing there, unable to light the tick of your own heart. And if for relief you're looking, If the need to explain blames something you ate or a tale you read too late at night, you will continue to bemoan, even though this defies all I've ever known. I feel I am not alone. And that's Ghosts. And finally, what Halloween would be, for full without a true ghost story? As I said, this is in Howling Hills Press, 23 Tales, and it's called Not Our Exit. I was driving to Fredonia Mountain with my 7-year-old daughter after shopping for school clothes and supplies in Chattanooga. My 13-year-old son Nathan had convinced me that he was old enough to stay home alone, and I was in a hurry to get back. I was thankful we were traveling on Tennessee Highway 111, which was fairly new, and not Highway 127, where the world's longest yard sale was taking place for the 12th year. The yard sale stretched hundreds of miles across 4 states, attracting bargain hunters from all over the nation. Thousands of people would be dotting the 2-lane highway looking for everything from antiques to clothing. Thankfully, I would skirt most of the crowd, though vendors would be huddled at the 4-way intersection in Dunlap. We still had 3 miles to go before getting off the highway when my daughter surprised me. "Mama, this is our exit." Tricia insisted from the back seat. She was so concerned, I slowed down to point out landmarks to show her she was mistaken. "No, honey, that's the way to East Valley Road. We don't live in that direction." "But Mama, we need to turn," she urged. She was visibly upset. I had no idea why and slowed down even more. I considered going that way just to calm her, knowing that meandering along farmland back roads would add 10 minutes or more to our trip. But I wanted to get back. My son had been left alone long enough, so I drove on. On that particular day, August 14th, 1998, the sky was clear and sunny. The view from Lewis Chapel Mountain descending into the valley was spectacular, with a panoramic view of not only the sky, but miles of the Cumberland Plateau and the valley floor. Deciduous and evergreen trees blanketed the hillside as we passed the East Valley Road exit. I glanced at my daughter in the rearview mirror. She was looking backward. She may have said something like we missed our chance, but time has made that part of the conversation vague. However, when we arrived at the intersection where Highway 127 and 111 converged, I faced something I never expected. Something we had only missed by a few moments. An 18-wheeler had plowed through the throng on the side of the road on my left. The scene was cataclysmic. A Ford sedan that had been hit by the truck was blazing, totally engulfed in flames. One man had been run over by the truck. Reports would tell of tire marks across his shirt. Clothing that had once been for sale carpeted the road. Books were crushed and thrown from a table. As I recount these events, I feel very numb, very distant from something that should shudder me with emotion. All I can remember feeling is the immediate need to get my daughter out of there and to get to my son. I was useless to those at the accident. Sirens were close. So the first opportunity I had, I continued up Highway 111 until I could cross to Fredonia Road to home. I would later learn that the 18-wheeler's brakes had failed and that 2 people died in the burning car. More than 20 were injured in the accident. The man who'd been run over miraculously survived. Eventually, the 4-way intersection became Highway 111 and 127 was replaced with an overpass. The world's longest yard sale continues each year during the first full week of August, now stretching to 6 states. My daughter, now in her 30s, only vaguely remembers the accident. She remembers wanting to get off the exit earlier, but doesn't remember why. I get a chill thinking about it, knowing how close we came to being there when the accident took place, and about the lives that were lost and changed. Many of them I knew. It's the memory of her voice from the back seat pleading with me to leave the highway before the intersection that makes the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. And I don't believe very much in the supernatural, but this is an event that took place with me that I can't explain. That she was so sure that we needed to get off on this particular exit so that we could skirt past all that. And yet, you know, we missed it. We missed it just by minutes. And if that's not scary enough for you on Halloween, I don't know what is.
Wow.
Thank you.
Natalie, that's incredible. What happened?
I tear up every time I read the story. Um, but I know when I wrote it, I was so pulled emotionally from it because as I said, the people in the car that were killed, I knew them.
You knew them.
I knew their families. Many of the people that had run to get out of the path of this truck, I know who they are, and some of them have never been the same. And so I don't know. Halloween is for many things. Um, for that fun scare, that horror movie, that candy, but I think Halloween too is for remembering. Um, and It's All Saints Eve, so I think it's a good time to remember too. So
I
thank you for
think,
having me.
oh, Natalie, thank you. And I just want everyone to just be able to um, remember this Halloween, like Natalie said. Thank you so much, Natalie, for being a part of Briar Haus Spooky October. Happy
Thank you.
Halloween.
Thank you. Happy Halloween to you.